Imagine being a part of a corporation having a product that you know causes cancer, debilitating, tremendous, negative, horrible health consequences for a lot of people. Imagine knowing this, and instead of trying to stop this, you literally attack journalists, hire PR firms to manipulate the press so people don't find out about this horrible fact that you are more worried about covering up than, of course, dealing with the actual consequences of. And this is what looks like to be the story of Monsanto. We're going to talk about this plus a lot more. We also have Josh Friedman here, who's an independent journalist who also received a very lengthy letter from Bayer after, of course, writing an article about Monsanto, Roundup, and a lot of other stuff. We're going to talk about this in just a little bit. But Jason, this story on its face is absolutely insane. We're talking about Monsanto hiring a PR firm that was able to manipulate USA Today, the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, and other major mainstream media companies, authoritative forces, and we're feeding them information that they ran with without even questioning, contradicting a lot of these claims. And now all of this is finally coming out from internal emails after discovery in the major lawsuits that are happening right now against Monsanto Bayer. This is crazy, Jason. Absolutely, absolutely crazy. And of course, juries are finding this incredibly unethical and, of course, awarding punitive damages awards because of the emails that they are seeing that are absolutely shocking, to say the least. Right, Jason?
Yeah, no, it's great. Finally, we're getting to see this stuff, and the nitty-gritty is getting out there. Now, this author, Carrie Gillum, actually talks about how somebody over at Media Matters, because, hey, even Media Matters does some good stuff against Monsanto, and a couple New York Times reporters had actually been targeted by Monsanto themselves. Now, what they would do is you use front organizations, Luke. So when you're looking at some of these, I don't know, reporters, what are they really? They're PR firms. They're media relation consultants that are leaning on organizations that they buy, Luke.
Reputation managers, as they call them. Keep going.
Yeah, let's manage that reputation. And the way you do that is you get on the inside of the American Council on Science and Health and you buy the results. You say, hey, the dollar amount with Monsanto's a little bit better, baby. Get on this. All of a sudden, you have mainline publications parroting their propaganda, and now we have the internal emails that show how these relationships work. Due to now they're 3 for 3. 3 people suing Monsanto because they knew and obfuscated the truth about Roundup and glyphosate actually causing some types of cancer, including non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and really just letting people die because of it, Luke.
Yeah. And most importantly here, buying off journalism. We're talking about successfully selling their lies to the corporate mainstream media, which just bought it. Now, you brought up journalists being attacked. Josh Friedman here, he's an independent journalist. He works for many different publications. He wrote an article about Monsanto recently. Josh, you got to tell us what happened to you. Hold on, I'm going to give you the microphone here so you could tell us your article, the email you got from Bayer, which of course acquired Monsanto. People are calling the dumbest, stupidest acquisition ever. But regardless, Josh, I'm just going to give you the microphone and let you explain the story, because your story is also pretty incredible as well.
All right, well, up front, I want to say I don't know with certainty, and I haven't reported with certainty whether or not Roundup does indeed or does not cause cancer, but I'm a journalist. I write for a publication in California called Calcoast News, and quite often, because Monsanto, now it's Bayer, is in the news, especially with regard to court cases. I've covered some of the court cases and the large judgments that various juries have issued regarding these Roundup cases, which often have to do with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and other types of cancer. Well, recently I wrote an article that actually wasn't about one of those court cases. It was actually just about some concerned parents at a small elementary school who were up in arms over the school using Roundup or a product just like Roundup. Actually, they acknowledged that they had used Roundup in the past on school grounds, and their parents upset about it. I wrote a small article about it. Didn't think anything of it, but I was kind of surprised that within minutes of the article being published, I got a lengthy email from Bayer. It was from a communications person at Bayer, pretty much demanding a correction. It said correction on top of the email, and it was a lengthy email with basically the whole argument from Bayer about how how Roundup is safe and how the science shows that. And I just found it to be very odd. This wasn't a major court case I was covering. It wasn't even a major article. It was just a short article about some parents being alarmed over Roundup use at a school, yet immediately within about an hour, maybe even less, I got a lengthy, pretty angry email from Bayer with correction in the headline.
Jason, we got to check our email because I haven't been checking my email in a while here. But of course, Josh brought up an interesting point. In California, if you're going to sue someone for libel or defamation, you need to first request a redaction first and a correction first. And of course, this sets a very chilling effect. I mean, Jason, do you have any questions for Josh? I mean, I could only imagine the kind of pressure like an editor would be at a small-time kind of publication, receiving a letter being like, hey, what do we do here? Jason?
Well, did they contact the publication or you directly?
Both. I handle a lot of, we're a small publication. I handle a lot of the communication email myself, and I wrote the article, but the fact of the matter is we're actually an investigative news publication, and we get these threats all the time. So it's it wasn't even so much of a threat. It was very surprising to me. I'm thinking how to what extent is Bayer monitoring news reports that within minutes of some small publication in California coming out with a small story about Roundup use at an elementary school, if that's on their radar and they're responding to that within minutes, to what extent is the company monitoring media reports?
Yeah,
no, it's incredible.
Yeah, we don't check our emails, but we should. But again, Jason, it's not just this crazy PR kind of arm that they have here, but they also, according to these emails, are accused of ghost writing scientific papers and suppressing scientific information that conflicts with, of course, their own corporate assessments, which obviously works for their personal benefit and many times doesn't have truth in it because, again, it wants to cover up the truth to, of course, help out the larger corporation. Jason, what's your take on it? And if you have anything else you want to ask Josh, feel free to ask him as well. Let's all just pretty much be a part of this conversation.
Sure. I mean, again, look at it right now. They are being looked into in France, in other parts of Europe, because this stuff is out there. You can see some of the court documents that are making the case right here. Some of the emails actually have been published on the inside. And yeah, it does look like they have a watchdog type organization that is monitoring this stuff very closely. And I would say this, I would think this is what happened to Josh, is that his stuff comes up in news feeds, and every so often they have somebody that literally types in Monsanto or Bayer or glyphosate into a search engine, and they monitor it hour by hour or every couple hours. And if they see something they don't like, they contact you more than likely with a form email and see if you contact them back. Because this is a multi-billion-dollar corporation that right now, Luke, I believe has everything to lose, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and these documents, of course, demonstrate pure deception and pure manipulation, which shouldn't surprise a lot of people. Many people have been raising the alarm bells. I mean, we have been raising the alarm bells specifically around Monsanto for a very, very, very long time. And obviously, it's very clear that there's a big force, that there's a big agenda, there's a lot of big money to prevent people from exposing the company from what it actually is. Josh, if you have anything else to say, feel free to interrupt us at any time. But Josh is also covering Bilderberg with us. Let's put his YouTube link in the description below if you want to check out his stuff. We've been confronting politicians all day at the airport today. We're kind of exhausted. We're kind of tired. But unless you have anything else to say, Josh, we're just going to kind of cut it from here, if that's okay, Jason. And is there anything else you want to say, or do you want to end it here?
That sounds good to me, brother. Oh, I'm ending it. Well, folks, this is actually a lot more good news on the front of taking down Bayer, Monsanto, GMO, and cancer-spreading liars. We've gone into some of the other horrors of what these corporations have done.
Allegedly, Jason. Allegedly.
I mean, if you think so. Come get me.
Well,
Oh, am I getting a form email? Oh, the Monsanto boogeyman and the bear guy, they're going to come and get us. I mean, who knows? Maybe they might. Guys, if you like this content, please, please, please hit that subscribe button. Share this stuff on social media. Ring that bell. Thumbs it up. Make sure you're getting all the notifications, not just some of the notifications or none of the notifications. And get out there and be the change you want to see in the world.